Okay, so welcome back to China Day 2020, and my name is Marcel Münch, and yeah, I will be your host and moderating this panel now. I witness actually a big shift in the automotive industry, and yeah, these are, I think, profound changes that are happening actually really just from this year, and obviously I think what's happening is against the backdrop of this current crisis with the pandemic. We see that the industry is changing and we see an acceleration towards e-mobility, for instance, but also towards digitization in general. So I'll give you some examples. The first one is possibly that government stimulus plans are now sometimes excluding ICE cars, so internal combustion engine cars, from the subsidy programs or from the reviving the economy subsidies. So this is to the benefit of electric cars currently. And we've seen in some of the company earnings calls now in Q2 and Q3 that are actually companies in the automotive field that have, that are more digitized, for instance, and that have a direct to consumer sales channel, for instance. They have been obviously been hurt less than other companies. And yeah, so we see that these companies have been affected less by the lockdown. So this is kind of what is moving towards this acceleration and this shift in this industry. And on top of that, we also see acceleration of programs of testing autonomous cars, of course, mainly in China, but also globally in general. So yeah, what is new is that we have new players in the industry, startups that are betting fully on fully autonomous cars, betting on electric vehicles, and they are strengthened by those CO2 targets and those new subsidies, for instance. And we see actually also a little bit more of an adoption of the consumer of the electric cars. And yeah, at the same time, we see how important China is for also the German car companies, because if we just look at the July sales, they're up in China. China's recovering quicker. So that obviously also helps Germany, because we are so dependent on the car sales in China, and other markets are maybe still down. So these are the big pictures, the macro trends, and that at least I am seeing out there. And it's great to have now important players of these trends on this panel. And that are players of this ecosystem. So we can now discuss exactly what I just mentioned. So first of all, we have Mr. Hui Zhang, who is the VP of Europe of NIO. And NIO is a Chinese electric car startup founded in 2014 in Shanghai. And currently, NIO has developed 3 electric cars, challenging Tesla a little bit on the premium sector here. And of course, they also had their startup struggles in the beginning, and NIO is now, maybe one of the most innovative players in the field. So glad to have Mr. Hui Zhang on the panel and hearing more about this in a minute. Next, we have Franklin Zeng, who is the head of information technology of another Chinese company, Geely. And we not only know Geely from the cars that they make, but also because they are one of the most international influential Chinese companies, acquiring Volvo as a brand and also having a stake in Daimler. So with Mr. Zhang, we learn more about how the increased internationalization looks from a Chinese perspective, with a particular focus also on the IT infrastructure and the culture of the company. And then we have Mr. Dirk Geiger, Director of Application Marketing and Management from Infineon Technologies. And Infineon is a German chip maker. Maybe not all of you already know that they are quite active actually in the area of electric mobility and chips that are used for autonomous driving. So we will be hearing more from him of how Infineon is creating those solutions in that space. And then last but not least, I'm glad to have Dr. Kurt Christian Scheel, Managing Director of the German Association of Automotive Industry, VDA, who will be telling us more about the cross-border collaboration in the automotive industry between Germany and China, and all of those aspects of their work with the initiatives that they are having in this regard. So yeah, let's start with the panel. And I think I will start off asking Mr. Geiger from Infineon, maybe give us a little bit more color about the work that you're doing, and also what, from your point of views, are actually currently still preventing consumers from adopting EVs, because not everybody, of course, is driving electric cars.
Sure. Thanks, Marcel. My name is Dirk Geiger. I am the application marketing and manager at Infineon. In that position, I'm taking care of whole applications, looking to the market, looking to our customers like Geely or NIO as well, looking for solutions from our side to support those companies in developing and bringing solutions in electromobility to the market. Yeah, and what are the biggest hurdles for today's access for people to grow into or get into electromobility? Well, to my thinking, it's first of all, it's the driving range, which makes people, at least in Europe, a little bit afraid of driving an electric car. The second is the charging time you spend to fill up your car with electricity. That is, today can be 15 minutes, can be half an hour, can be also 8 hours. So that's a very uncertainty for many people that are used to drive in fuel-powered cars. That is a quick refill and a quick stopover. So for charging stations, I think it's growing very fast. So today, I think in Europe, to my latest numbers, about 170,000 fast charging stations. In China, there are a multiple of that. It's 900,000 charging stations, but still growing very fast. Still, probably not enough. So there should be about one charging station for 10 electric cars, and the market for electric cars, at least in Europe, is growing much faster than the number of charging stations. Certainly, you don't need only a fast charging station. You can also charge your car by just using a wall plug at your home. But that certainly is a power factor, and it takes much longer time to charge your car. No problem, probably, if you drive to work in the morning, you charge your car, drive back home, no problem at all. You can charge it overnight. But if you go to a vacation and you just need a quick stopover at a parking lot or something, then you need fast charging to ramp up your charging power in the car for another 200, 300 kilometers of range. So I think that's the major issues for today of people using electric cars. From a European probably point of perspective, in China, it's probably the people are more technically affine, looking into new ideas. That is probably different in the culture of the different cultures, nations in that context. We from Infineon, we certainly support all this charging infrastructure, so we can help on the technical side. We cannot change so much the mindset of the people. But we are certainly having all the product for fast charging stations, from power to microcontrollers to all the products that are required to make an electric charging station work properly and safely. And certainly also the onboard charger, the charging unit built into the car, which needs automotive quality, which needs a certain grade of safety, and possibly there's also billing included in a charging infrastructure. So we also have what is called a TPM module, a security module to store your secrets of the car and maybe use it for charging when you are at the fast charging station or at a plug in your vacation location. And Infineon is not only producing and supplying products, but we help our customers also to build up complete systems and solutions. So for that, we have global company subsidies all over the world. but also we partner with experts in the different fields that help our customer then to build what we call applications, so complete solutions in a car or in the infrastructure of a car.
Okay.
All right, that's my short update of what I think are the barriers in today's EV environment.
Yeah, I think I'll come back in more detail to what Infineon is actually providing as solutions at a later point, but you already mentioned a very important factor, which is charging, and that is the perfect match ball for NIO with Huizhang, because NIO has just announced a very innovative new business model, but also it's also hardware based, called Battery as a Service, just announced actually a couple of days ago. And maybe Mr. Huizhang, you can talk a little bit as in the beginning of what is your role for NIO in Europe, and then also tell us more what is so unique about NIO and this maybe this new charging solution that you have.
Thanks, Marcel. I think we know each other also for years. I'm Zhang Gui. I joined NIO in 2016 as one of the earliest, and I was sent over by NIO. So again, relocated from Shanghai to Munich, taking the challenge for NIO to grow the organization. And currently, NIO has two organizations and legal entity in Europe. So we have a global design headquarters located in Munich with about 100 employees with a world-class designer. And we have also advanced engineering center located in Oxford with about 40 people who are doing actually both on the engineering side, but also on the vehicle architecture side. So basically with those two locations, we practice one of the key principles of NIO, how we build up our global footprint. First of all is we want to be a global startup. And the second case is we're following center of competence principle. So we just leverage where we can find the best talent. So that's why we set up here in Munich, and we set up engineering center in England. Give me just a second. Thank you. There's still technical things you have to handle. And my role is as vice president of the NIO group and overseeing all the operation activity for NIO in Europe. So I'm the legal representative for both companies, and of course, I'm also trying to make sure that we run in compliance and we run safely. So NIO is how about we are in Europe. And by the way, I think I need to mention, NIO is the first Chinese car company setting up a design center, and emphasize design center, not an engineering center, in Germany. So if I may quote, 3 years ago was reported by Mr. Slomka of Heute said, design in Germany, made in China. And one of our partners, Mr. Geiger from Infineon, and we used to attend your shareholder annual conference. And
True.
The slogan, what I like very much, is a Chinese SUV with a Bavaria soul. I mean, this is really nice from your marketing people. Great. What I'm trying to say is NIO is actually from the birth, is a global startup, and we also, with our global footprint, quite leverage the talent working for the Chinese market the first place. And secondly, coming to your question regarding NIO USP, good, thank you, you asked the question. I think NIO is established not being another car company, very clear. So our goal is to so-called shape a joyful lifestyle. And how we going to do that is to build up a user enterprise. So here, the keyword is the user, is not custom. right? We put it as a user. So user can be in different aspects, what you can understand. And what we are having is actually NIO is building up a comprehensive user ecosystem, which includes, I would say, 5 pillars. So if you can consider the NIO business plan as a NIO house, on the top, we have a shape a joyful lifestyle. It's where we're going to go. And then we have the 5 pillars. The 5 pillars are the NIO car, the smart EV is our product, right? And on the smart car, of course, we will say, one of the only company who do ADAS and autonomous driving in-house. So for that purpose, we have an in-house capacity installed in Silicon Valley with over 200 engineers, especially on the software architecture and on the autonomous driving. And besides, we signed a strategic agreement with the Mobileye last year. So we are developing together the level 4 ADAS AD technology. And secondly is actually the NIO points of sales. I call it a direct sales channel. As you know, in NIO in China, we sell our cars direct without any dealer, without any distributor. So
one of the reasons why NIO has been less affected by the lockdown in terms of car sales, right?
Yeah, that is thank you for mentioning about that. That is actually is another, I would say, the ground of the NIO business house. That is the NIO app and the NIO cloud. So one of the key DNA of NIO is O2O, online to offline. That helps us extremely to recover quickly from the COVID-19 after the outbreak beginning of February. What I can tell you, just put one example. We started to do live streaming 1st of February. Every day, over 30 or 40 live streaming. So after 6 weeks, the effort, our sales number already came back to beginning of January. So before the COVID-19 and before the Chinese New Year holiday. Yeah. So that's extremely grateful to our O2O business model. So that is also part of the second pillar I mentioned, the point of sales. And the third one is the NIO after sales, the service technology, the service strategy. So NIO is the only, I think, premium Chinese brand in the premium segment right now, over MSRP over 300,000 RMB, right? And our sales is realized by over 40% word of mouth recommendation. So that means the new car sales, over 40% are generated by the existing customers. Yeah. As far as we know, is over above premium brand worldwide. So this is the service. And the fourth pillar is a unique new power solution. We're going to talk about the BESS, one of them. So the new unique power solution is a powerful tools, what actually exactly tailor-made to move the road blockers. What Dirk just mentioned, why the people still not brave enough to switch from a combustion engine to electrical cars, right? The range uncertainty and the missing infrastructure, and also one other thing, very important, I consider 3 roadblocks. Is the third one is a cost, because the electrical car nowadays are still more expensive. Yeah. Why? Because everybody knows in the industry, battery pack takes a lot of shares of our BOM cost, which makes the car selling price higher. So these three road blockers are really the key, I think, prevent consumer from switching combustion engine to electrical cars. And that is the power solution, which is unique with a battery swap station, and which is luckily even acknowledged and promoted since April this year by the Chinese central government.
Can you describe it to somebody who doesn't know NIO yet, maybe in 15 seconds, like a startup elevator pitch? What is battery swapping, and how does this battery swapping business model, the new one that you just established, work, and how does it relate to the the pain point that Mr. Geiger has outlined regarding charge?
Right, I will do. Battery swap is actually a fully automated swap station where the car basically drive automatically in and takes up to 3 minutes to fully swap a newly fully charged battery pack for our user, which you can do either by paying a monthly fee or the new methodology called BaaS, Battery as a Service.
Yeah.
Let me spend a little bit of time explaining how BaaS works. So in terms of the BaaS, that means first time you are allowed to separate the ownership of the battery pack from the car itself, which is normal in European or Western world, which is just newly allowed by the Chinese government. Right? And secondly, you have to have a car chassis, which is swappable. Otherwise, you cannot do that. And thirdly, what you need is installed swap station infrastructure. What NIO has done since 2018, we have installed until yesterday 149 swap stations all over China. To mention is that we covered even the 3 big motorway in China connecting Beijing, Shenzhen, Beijing, Shanghai, Shanghai, Shenzhen. Right? And third, what is the most important preconditions to have a BaaS is that the government must permit you to separate the ownership, what was not the case before beginning of this year. Yeah. And if you are the user, nowadays, you can choose, instead of purchase the battery pack, you can lease the battery pack.
Yeah, understood.
That means immediately is a cost reduction of 70,000 RMB, which is about 9,000 euros.
Thanks for describing that. I think you mentioned a couple of great points, like how NIO is innovative in this regard and distinct, like very different. So you mentioned the battery as a service, but also the sales channels, and lots of those innovations are actually enabled by digitization. So infrastructure and IT plays a role. And this is where I want to turn over to Mr. Franklin Tseng, and maybe from your perspective, working with Geely on the IT infrastructure side, could you maybe describe a little bit the role that IT actually plays for Geely and with all those different daughter companies in Europe? And also, what are the difficulties to kind of implementing such new innovative solutions as well, particularly cross-border with different cultures like in Sweden and the UK?
Sure, thank you, Marcel. I think this is really interesting questions because it shows how the transition of IT recently in the automobile industry in the last 2 decades. At the beginning, people always thought the IT team is equal to help desk or service desk. We just help to fix computers and to troubleshooting things. But after a few years later, from 2000, I think the management team realized the IT technology can help to change the way of R&D, the research and the design, engineering, and also the manufacturing, such as those CAD stuff, CAE, and also CAM. I think those new technologies can synergy the multi-industry values and generate the core competence for the companies from IT perspective. I mean, in the last 10 years, IT become more and more critical to the companies because the function is more same as the backbone human being. IT will help to distribute the strategy and the operation task to all functions and link each other very quickly, and also get to the direction or direct result to the brain. I mean, the brain means the top management team or the advice board. So in Geely or in GATD, especially, the key task or key missions for IT team is quite simple. We deliver the group strategy, means we have the Geely group strategy, then we try to deliver and the localization, and also help to maximize the business efficiency in German. We try to help to make a German story success, a European story success. And also definitely we need to make sure we are compliant and also make sure the business running even more efficient compared with other maybe partners. That's what our mission is. Besides, same as we're doing in the advanced like research and development in German, the IT team also help to search those potential opportunities. And also we to provide those advanced solution back to the group and bring benefit to the HQ. Because in European area, the IT technology or solution is a little bit advanced, especially in German. The car industry is very like advanced compared with other regions. So that's why I think, we think we can find lots of new IT solutions and advanced solutions. Maybe we can provide back to China, to headquarters, and help them to improve. I think IT team also here in the European countries need to balance between the global strategy and the localization. And also that's maybe referred to, Marcel, you mentioned about the challenge and the difficulty when we working here. I think this is a tough topic for all the global companies, such as General Motors, because I worked in General Motors for 12 years before I joined Geely. When we expanding the business to European country and the Asia Pacific region, we did have a very tough time how we balance between each others, because either way will cause some business or maybe technical issues. So for example, we found some advanced and maybe cost-saving solution in German or European area, but however, global R&D team is currently using different solutions. But if we try to apply the European standard, then it will maybe cost a huge global R&D working framework change. So what do we should do? Then normally we will group a task force with the group team together to analysis and see how the benefit we apply for that. And besides that, I think in European area, we're also looking for some autonomous driving solutions and also some OT solutions which can benefit us as well. So IT has played some key roles recently in the automobile industry or maybe in the automobile companies.
Okay, that's a great transition. Speaking of how different countries are different in that regard, I think it's great to talk with Dr. Schell about the trends that I've been describing and those macro trends, but now also like on the very detail when we look at how China and Germany is maybe different in this regard, and we have those new players challenging existing norms and so on. So is this kind of a threat to the status quo, and how should we collaborate in the future? What do you think is the right way forward to finding answers to this?
Thank you very much for this very good question, and thank you very much for inviting me to this session. From our point of view, it is very important to reflect about partnership, particularly in this context, and it is particularly important to talk about changing things. Not talking about threats, but talking about the dynamics of the market and talking about dynamics of the future. So, but let me talk a little bit about the federation I am working for. Association of German Automotive Industry is 119 years old, and it is organizing over 600 companies, not only OEMs, well-known brands working in Germany, but also many suppliers, large and small, who together form an ecosystem which is working for a very long time intensively together on a national, European, but also on an international scale with our partners in many parts of the world, in order to bring about change, in order to bring about new technology at the service of the customer. Mm-hmm. In particularly with regards to China, we have a very long tradition of cooperating. The Volkswagen Santana, I think, is very well known to many people who have to do with cars and with China. And right now,
sorry, just a quick break. Maybe to add on that, those who have not been yet in China, it's like the common taxi, right? That you see around on the streets everywhere.
Correct. Correct. And even now, we are very happy that our ties and our relationship are so close. And we as a federation, of course, for many years worked closely together with the China Association of Automotive Manufacturers, CAAM, on many issues of common interest. We work closely together with CATARC, the Chinese Automotive Technology and Research Center, where we try to develop things on a wide range on common topics. And we are, of course, very happy, and it is very helpful that also a wide array of government institutions are working closely together on the basis of a variety of MOUs on issues like digitization, on like autonomous driving. And we ourselves with EV100 are also very closely working together with our partners in China also on electric mobility. This is not to talk about the many cooperations we have with trade fair organizations, with logistics organizations. We are having common projects with the Chinese Logistics Federation on standardizing logistic chains. I mean, this is really nuts and bolts exercises which are very important to make things easier for companies which are not very politically or not very much on a political surface, but which are very important for companies in China and in Germany in order to be more efficient and more effective. And then, of course, are the many projects our OEMs are having with Chinese partners, our suppliers are having with Chinese partners, and vice versa. And we are happy that this ecosystem is thriving so strongly, because looking at the double challenge we are having, first is climate change and the ramp up of electromobility, and the second is digitization, automation and autonomous driving, which really will change the industry, but which will also change society for the better. And this is why it is so important to bring forces together. If we look at the effects of the COVID crisis, then governments have taken many bold steps in China and in Germany and in Europe to lead the way out of the crisis. We have been facilitating a lot in this regard. And if we look at what measures have been taken, many measures are really made for bringing about a strong ramp up of electromobility. We are now at over 10% market share. These are the latest numbers from July in Germany. Things are developing and thriving in China as well, and in other parts of the world, which is, of course, for mutual benefit. And also we are trying to really drive technology in order to be able to be successful also when it comes to develop the higher stages of automation with the final goal of autonomous driving, where many hands have to come together. We have to bring together what Silicon Valley does. We have to bring together what Germany does with its very long-standing tradition in constructing automobiles. And we have to bring together the competencies of our Chinese partners. And together, I think we will move things, and together we will be successful. And we as a federation try to be as helpful as we can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. These have already been great insights from different perspectives. Because we have some limited time here, I would like to ask you to speak with the last round, and would start again with Mr. Dirk Geiger from Infineon, and touch on a new topic which we didn't have so far, really. And I know it's not your main focus of interest personally, but I think it's super exciting, and it's about autonomous driving. So if you can talk a little bit about what is Infineon doing there, and maybe the different levels of autonomy, and what you think is to be expected in the next couple of years, and where we are at. So just a very brief.
Sure. Autonomous driving is certainly a very interesting field of technology. It's coming more and more into cars. I think, as you know, there is level 1 to level 5 when we talk about autonomous driving. Up to level 2, the driver is still driving the car. You have all the responsibility. At level 3, you only can get away part of this responsibility. And only level 4, level 5 is what we call self-driving cars, automated driving cars. And right now in our world, we are somewhere in between level 2 to level 3. Level 3 getting more and more advanced. There is a lot of innovation ongoing there. But certainly there are hurdles of legislations. It's not just the technology behind that. It's also the user that needs to use it, and how is using it. So level 3, I think we see today partially like if you have autonomous driving on the car, on the highway with lane assistant, or you have autonomous parking of a car already in the field. But certainly we are not yet on a level where a car, you can call a car and it's driving to your doorstep or something. So that is really the future. People working on it. I think right now it's a little bit slower because due to the pandemic, as well as maybe on the environmental topics. First of all, we need to get the electric car on the road. And then we look in a second step or in parallel to that for autonomous driving. What we learned in the pandemic, maybe people still like to drive their own car because they are independent to it. So if you only have autonomous driving cars, maybe you don't own the car anymore and you are dependent on a third party for that car.
So do you think electric cars are necessary for autonomy, or
not necessarily, certainly, but there is a lot of advantage in the development of an electric car and building in all these advanced functions into electronic cars. So I think it's not a race. It kind of comes together. It's innovation in parallel. But what I see for most of the end customers, so my end customers, it's the OEMs, it's say they push more the electric car at the moment to get it on the road, to fulfill the environmental requirements, the environmental legislations, instead of pushing so much the autonomous driving, which is certainly a user experience, but it's not necessarily supporting the environment as it is required, because if you don't fulfill your emission standards as a car fleet or as an OEM, then you get penalties in the different countries. Also, what you mentioned before, I think, Marcel, at the very beginning, subsidies are today focusing on electric mobility. So electric mobility is really pushed, whereas autonomous driving is a user experience, which is certainly a very big thing if it comes to acceptance of a car in the future. So user experience we should not avoid, but environment might be at the first level currently or for the next 1 to 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, that's maybe some words on Infineon certainly on it. If you have another 10 seconds for me, certainly we support all this autonomous driving. The car architectures change. So when I talk about Infineon, we are deep inside a car, deep down on the technology level. Here we have the right products for what we call domains in a car, like a driver assistance domain, where you need a car computer or a calculator to monitor all the sensors in your car. Sensors, you have a radar sensor, you have sonar, you have LiDAR sensors. All these different technologies needs to come together, need to get calculated to make your car drive safely. So you recognize a pedestrian or you recognize your lanes on the road, and that is calculated in a car computer. But certainly that's only the computer. You need the sensors like a radar sensor, a LiDAR sensor also, that is supported by Infineon's technology. Same as you need safety features. So functional safety in a car is certainly a must today. Your car is should not do anything that it should not do. And also security, we talk about cyber security. So you also need to protect your car from any hacks or misbehavior in terms of somebody likes your car to do something what the car should not do. So also here Infineon has a lot of history in cyber security with our chip card division that we leverage into the automotive industry. So that's our contributions also in this big context of autonomous driving. Thanks, Marcel.
Yeah, great. Thanks for outlining. And we talked a lot about user experience. And I think when we talk about user experience, we have an expert here with Mr. Zhang from NIO, because you mentioned before that NIO is kind of building a user enterprise, right? And maybe can you talk a little bit about how NIO is possibly different from the car companies that we know today?
As I said, first of all, we are not trying to be another car maker. Mm-hmm. So from the starting point, NIO is already different. So as I said, we want to shape a joyful lifestyle, building up a user enterprise with different vehicles I just mentioned, so different pillars. And secondly, NIO also innovative in terms of the industry rules. So NIO actually is one of the first in China trying or testing with subcontractor manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So that's why the capital we raised, we didn't put into new factory. Instead, we put the money we raised, it's billions of dollars, into the digital touching point with the customer, into every single touching point with the customer, instead of putting a heavy asset, building up a factory. Mm-hmm. And in that case, we tried, and successfully, the Chinese central government acknowledged as well. So that's a second. In terms of the total value chain, if you look at what the NIO is doing, and thirdly is really to build up this connection to the user as a community. As probably you know, we have only the NIO app has 1.3 million downloads. Right? Mm-hmm. And we have also a NIO radio who is producing content for our customer. And the penetration rate of our user listening to NIO radio while they're driving is very high. And we have a NIO Live, which already sold 1.3 million items of all the NIO merchandising, if you like, whereas we just sold 46,000 cars in the short 5 years period.
So would you say maybe in the future it's possible that NIO creates more revenue from those services than actually from selling cars? Do you think that's a possibility?
No. And that's already corrected many times. So people think our main revenue stream and profit will come from the selling merchandising or providing services. It's not the case. We are still really need to have the profit by selling the cars with a relative appropriate margin. So, but we are really, I think, put focus on how to build this user community so that we have really a user enterprise. I mean, I can put several examples if I may. First of all, last year during the really not easy time for NIO in our history, many of the users are volunteered providing free of charge sponsorship or the advertisement in China, like big banner in the railway station, like in the taxi in Shanghai. And secondly, we have every week, many of the the users, they spend their weekend going to our NIO house, trying to convince the potential users why they have to switch, they should switch from combustion engine to electrical cars, telling them their own experience driving the car, right? And of course, we have also a lot of user self-organized community. They are doing actually one of the signature activity, we call it the NIO Summer, all organized by the NIO community and partially also financed by themselves. Yeah, so this is actually, you know, in the future, especially with mobile internet and also with newly the COVID-19, I believe that the society is actually, you have to figure out what is the connection to the customer. Not like, of course, it's a different in Europe, selling a car like in China, but at the end of the day, this emotional connection is still the most key to winning the customer. So that is actually what NIO has been investing in the last 3 years, right?
And what I also think is that NIO is kind of reacting fast to what's happening and responding fast to the consumer, to the user. And Mr. Franklin Song, this goes to you. Also from my experience of living in China, you know, we have the term China speed. Everything is so fast in China, but how does it work for you with IT integration and your team in Europe and maybe European bureaucracy? Can you shed some light on this, on some of those, your daily work and how it works out?
Oh, sure. I got some experience after I working in different countries before. So that's why personally I have two actions or a way to doing this. First is I try to build a multinational teams here in German. Because we recruit a German employee who working in a US company for 25 years. We recruit Swedish employees working in Chinese company before. And also we have Chinese employees who live in German for more than 15 years. So you see, it's like a mixture environment with different culture mixed together, and the people have different way. So this bring us a different view and a different culture and operation models when we're facing challenge. So definitely, it's not working at the first beginning, but after a few months of the operation, a newly a combined norm has been formed. So that's why this new norm is based on our key business values: quick win, business oriented. So those are our core values in the team, in the IT team at least, working on both operation and the innovation projects. Sometimes the different experience will lead to conflicts on one certain things, but they're all inspiration, argument, and the discussion. So that's why it will finally reach some outstanding result. So that's one thing, one way I try to fix this. Secondly, is we try to take harmonize the strategy. Because bureaucracy is not only in European country, I won't say, but also in China and also in our big multinational company, it's always there. You cannot avoid it. Yeah, exactly. Either way, they will impact on the JTD, especially in the IT area. So that's why we must take a quick response, and we should have the sense of urgency, take those kind of approach. So we set up bottom line, which 100% follow local laws and regulation a compliance. That's the a bottom line we cannot cross. Then above that, based on this kind of a principle, we can reference and leverage the best practice from the other side. Then eliminate those unnecessary process and steps. So for example, we get different culture, different way to working. Then we say, okay, maybe this is the best way to fit the current JTD situation. Then at least we empower our team members also, they can have the right delegations when they're facing some challenge or when they perform some jobs. So by doing this, I think we form a new and harmonized way to working in German, at least for our IT team. That's working pretty well. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. That's once again the perfect transition to Dr. Scheel. This is the last question before actually also taking one question from the audience. But my question to you is, what do you think is the future of cooperation? So for instance, we are doing quite a bit of work with Audi in China sometimes, and they just mentioned the fact that they say in China, so Audi in China for Chinese, but also created for the world, you know? So there's a paradigm shift. We're now creating the cars for this big Chinese audience, which is important. At the same time, bringing those things back to Germany, whereas in the past, maybe it was all developed in Germany and we brought it to China. So yeah, this is the new stage actually.
Yes, this is a very good question, because looking at how the global landscape, we can see two trends. The first trend is a clear focus, and this has been said before by all my colleagues, on the customer. And focus on the customer does mean on the customer in his context of living. So we have to be able to develop products and services which fit to the specific situation of the customer in his relevant context of living, be it in a city, be it in the countryside, be it in one part of the world or another part of the world. So this needs a great deal of adaptability. On the other hand, we of course have to look for each and every potential for being as efficiently and as effectively with regards to a distribution of potentials of knowledge and to distribution of abilities with regards to production and with regards to R&D and with regards to everything which is needed to create the optimal product and the optimal service. Because only if we really have economies of scale, we can be as competitive as possible as individual company, but also as an industry as a whole. And this, of course, makes it necessary to look at the framework conditions which we see worldwide. Because right now we have a multitude of different standards, of different technical rules and regulation. And what we really try to do is, together with our cooperation partners in China and also in other parts of the world, to create a basis which is as harmonized as possible to fit the different needs on one side and to make business as efficient and as effective as possible on the other side. And this is why we strongly advocate for free trade, for international standards, for openness, which can make things a lot easier for our companies, starting from logistics up to delivery to the final consumer. And we are very happy to cooperate in this regard also in the future.
Thank you very much. This is really insightful. And now the last question is actually from the audience, and I will give it to all of you basically because it's a very high-level question, and it's maybe a little bit also challenging our panel here, because the question is, are electric cars actually kind of compatible with the legacy cars, the internal combustion engine? So we always have this discussion with should we be open-minded to the new technologies, and should we actually have this discussion about which technology will be leading the way? So maybe what are the views on the panel here, and maybe once again starting with Dr. Schell, how long should we stay open in this discussion, or is there already like a clear path, and how should we think critically of also our panel here?
Of course, technology openness is a very important aspect of good policy making, because only in this way we can really assure that innovation and that new technologies, that new ideas and that breathtaking inventions can really take hold. However, of course, we have to meet certain goals and certain standards. For one, there is the demand of the consumer, which is rising a lot, also with regards to new forms of mobility, like electromobility. And the second, of course, is, I have mentioned climate change. Worldwide, we see a broad array of rules and regulation. In Europe, we have, for example, the fleet targets with regards to CO2, which really demand a clear focus to 2030 with regards to the ramp up of electric mobility in the first place. We have discussed strongly internally that for Germany alone, this goal means 7 to 10 million electrified cars on the road in Germany alone in 2030. And to translate this to Europe, this means a very strong trend and a very push push with regards to electrification, be it battery electric vehicles, be it plug-in hybrid vehicles, notwithstanding that we also need other technologies like the fuel cell, like alternative liquid fuels, e-fuels, and so on and so forth. But only if we take all these innovations together, we can make the whole transport system climate neutral until 2050. And this is the clear vision we have as an association, we have as an industry, and we also have in Europe. But I mean, looking at China and at the regulatory thrust we are having in China with regards to electric mobility, similar trends take place. And this is why we see the strong focus and we see the strong innovative push in this regard as well. And we are very happy to be able to be part of the challenge in all these parts of the world and to closely cooperate in order to be able to achieve these goals together.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd like to hear Mr. Zhang's views from NIO, a pure EV player. Are you open in this regard, or why is your bet so far 100% e-mobility, battery-driven e-mobility, to be specific?
Again, like I said, NIO was established never being the champion of a technology roadmap. So our purpose is to give a joy to our user. So whatever technology you can provide to the customer, which could bring more joy by using your product, is the highest priority. Mm-hmm. We just decided that on one hand, of course, especially as the company established, facing the increasing air pollution in Beijing or in many of the cities in China. So one of the slogans of a NIO called the blue sky coming. Right? So that is one of the purpose as we started in China. But finally, ultimately, is to bring the joy. That's why for us, we believe EV is the perfect tools to give more joy because it's easier to integrate more smart features, to easily to go to the alternative driving we just discussed. And of course, EV also gives the chance to make the contribution to the environment, like Dr. Shea just explained. So that's why for NIO, we don't think we should discuss about which technology roadmap will win. So what matters is to win the heart of the users. Who win them, you win the market share, and you automatically bring the new technology from a company like Infineon, like one of our partners, into the product. But we just not simply want to demonstrate, okay, because this technology is good, it should be guided. That doesn't matter. What matters is the joy and the user.
This is like the perfect closing word, because unfortunately we're kind of time now, but yeah, the user is the important one. There needs to be heart and joy, and I think what we can definitely say from this panel is that there is change happening from different perspectives here. So really glad to be part of this panel now and have those different views. Today we will now have a small break, and then actually my colleague Miriam, she will be moderating the next panel about digital China, so also very exciting. And thank you once again for participating in this panel. And this was really a joy to me. So thanks again, and enjoy the rest of the sessions.